Now welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let's get right to the news.
I always want to interrupt you when you're saying news from Naboo now. It's a bad
Why?
habit.
Oh, me Monday. Yep. I get you.
Alright, so we're going to talk about Jedi Fallen Survivor. Woo!
Or just Jedi Survivor.
Or Fallen Survivor. Cameron Monaghan just did an interview recently with Game Informer. He kind of talked about being pushed to the breaking point. I was like,
dun, dun, dun.
Makes sense, exciting, good stuff here all around. He kind of spoke about where Cal's going to be at the beginning of the story, the themes of the both games, how difficult it is creating a story that can stand on its own in an ongoing saga. But first he starts out by saying, the Star Wars galaxy is, at this time, an extremely dark point, and the situation for a Jedi has never been worse than what it is for Cal. So he's looking for any way to effect change, to survive, to protect anything that he cares about, and that's becoming increasingly difficult, and I think Cal is at a point when he's even questioning how he's supposed to proceed, what his next move should be. And so, when an opportunity seemingly presents itself for him, he's going to throw himself at it full force. That's what kind of launches us into the story.
I see.
So, desperation.
Well, as he points out, it's not a good time to be a Jedi in this galaxy.
No.
So you gotta do what you gotta do.
Especially one the Empire knows about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's on their radar, so... Well, he's like public enemy number one, it almost makes it sound like, at this point.
Probably.
Maybe he's probably way up there on the list.
I can't see him being low on the list after everything he's done.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's caused... He's not one of the Jedi that just kind of melded into the shadows and disappeared. He's been out there doing things, so...
He's been inspiring hope that must be snuffed out.
Yeah, it's bad. We can't be bringing hope. That spark of rebellion.
He's changing the narrative. Oh, Jedi, they're evil. Well, that guy seems to be trying to work for us. Alright, so then he kind of talks about the themes of the two games. He says, I think a lot of the story of the first game was what happens when you lose your family, and how you can find a new one for yourself. With this story, we say, okay, you have a family, but what happens around you when your circumstances change? What happens when you have different opinions on how to deal with those circumstances? I feel like that's code words.
I feel like that's like we've split up with the family because the family doesn't agree with what I want to do. That's what it sounds like. I'm a teenager now. I'm rebelling.
What happens when you put strain on a family and on your relationships? What does this look like for these characters' interactions? And of course, over the course of the story, we find new characters, new interactions, and we really continue to open up Cal's relationships as well.
It's strange that in the trailers and such we've seen them apart.
Yeah, we haven't really...
They don't seem like they're a family anymore.
Yeah, he goes to visit...
Seer, yeah.
Yeah, Seer, and she doesn't seem excited to see him.
Oh, look, it's the guy who's doing all these things that I like. Yeah, oh boy, thanks for showing up. See yourself to the door. I don't know if it's quite that extreme, but it wasn't a fond reunion, and it did seem like it'd been a while since they saw each other, so...
In Fallen Order, Cal Kestis' choices were fairly black and white, one could say, in terms of what he should do.
Yeah.
To be on the correct path, the right path. Apparently it's going to be a lot less clear in Survivor. He says, there's a bunch of new characters that I really like what they do to shift the dynamic in the story. And in our first story, we had someone who was kind of a boy becoming a man. He doesn't have a safety net, is what I guess I can say. A part of adulthood is kind of, you have to live with the decisions that you make, and it's challenging, and you can be affected by them, and they can haunt you. We have a really interesting story with Cal, where he's faced with challenges that are difficult, and there's not necessarily any right answers, but it's something I always really wanted to explore with the character. It's a conversation we had immediately after the first game was, how do we put this character in situations that are challenging, and what are ones that are going to push him to the point where he might break? How do we get to that point? And what do we do from there? And what is the story that's going to be most exciting? And where we can still find adventure, but also something that's deeper and darker and intricate and complex? So yeah, we have a bunch of really big questions that we are asking with this one. Deep
We'll
thoughts.
See. We'll see. I have high hopes for the game.
I do too. I always get nervous when they say things like, there are choices and you can't take them back. And I'm like, does that mean they're going to have multiple endings? Are there different...
I hope not.
Is it one of those situations like with Horizon, the Horizon games, that if you talk to a character a certain way, they may not have come to help you later on?
I don't know. I think the problem with that with Star Wars is so many people care so deeply about the canon. They want to know what is the actual canon story. it's funny, like, people almost don't want choose your own adventure in Star Wars, even though one of the most popular Star Wars games is the ultimate choose your own adventure with, Knights of the Old Republic. But I don't know. Because it's always about, not always, but it's a lot of times about canon. So I want a good canon story. I don't necessarily want, there's the 30 endings and you get to, it's cool for some games. With Star Wars, I just want to know the story.
But it could just be something similar to Horizon, where if you helped and worked with certain NPCs along the way, they came and they made that last fight a little better, a little easier, because they helped, or else you were slugging it out on your own. Monahan also spoke about the importance that Jedi Survivor be able to exist as a standalone story while also being satisfying to fans who know the wider lore. I mean, this is a challenge in the video game industry, honestly.
It's a challenge anytime you delve into any kind of Star Wars story because you always have that bigger picture looming.
You've got the bigger picture looming, which is rough for Star Wars and lore-based stuff in particular.
Yeah, you have the fans who are going to notice any little...
In the video game industry, you have to make every game have its own standalone capabilities. Think about the God of War series. You don't want to be playing the new God of War going, oh, if I didn't play the other God of Wars, I'm not going to get this.
Well, I think
somebody needs to be able to jump on and play the new one and have fun with it without knowing the whole picture, with enough recap in the game to give you a picture of where they've been and where they're going.
I don't think that's a problem just for video games. It's a problem for any franchise. You want, everything should be an entry point in theory, right? You don't want somebody to start watching your show and be like, I don't understand this, and turn it off and never come back.
Well, I think that's a problem also with, of course, with Marvel. I mean, the new Ant-Man trailer just dropped. Looked amazing. The first one didn't look so good. This one looked much better.
Yeah.
But how much have you had to watch to know what's going on in the new movie?
Like I said, that's the issue with franchises. You want to appease the hardcore fan who has watched everything and has every line memorized and wants that deep, intricate story. It doesn't want to recap. But you also have to remember there are going to be people out there who watch for the first time. They're going to watch their first piece of Star Wars content or Marvel, and they don't want to have to, do research beforehand. Like you're saying with God of War, like, if you've never played the other games and you start the new one up and it's like, well, we expect you to have played these other 50 games. Not that there's 50 games, but you get my point. It's daunting.
Exactly, yeah. It turns people off from buying it, and they don't want that to happen. Yeah. I mean, this is still a product.
It's a fine line. It's a fine line between, again, appeasing those hardcore fans who want all this, intricacy and all, which, as a hardcore fan, I, of course, like that. And appeasing the new person who has no idea what this is even all about.
At the end of the day, the new story needs to be satisfying and interesting regardless of what came before it.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to stand on its own, yet it also has to be part of something bigger.
Exactly.
It's not easy.
Because anyone who's playing this from, like, your perspective, my perspective, we want the game to satisfy canon as well. We want to know intricate pieces of detail. But the new people coming on board are going to be like, well, I'm just here to play a game.
Yeah, like I was saying before, I'm very interested in, I'm interested to play the game, don't get me wrong, but I'm vested in not only Cal's story, but the greater story of Star Wars. So for me, as cool as it sounds to have an open-ended Star Wars game, and I'm not against that by any
stretch. Probably
stretch.
Is not.
No, I know it's probably not, but at some point in the future, we are going to get a very open-ended Star Wars game, right? A big open-world, immersive game where you do what you want, they're supposedly in the works even. In other words, it's a hard blend of, I'm very interested in the story. Someone else might pick up the game and just be more interested in playing the game because they're not vested in the greater story or even know who Cal is. It's so hard, I think, to make things in franchises is basically what I'm boiling it down to here.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, he did mention Lucasfilm helped out a lot, trying to help them find a nice footing to stand on, a nice place for the story to live, to satisfy both things. Which we won't be able to know if it satisfies both things until March 17th when it comes out. It did actually get its ESRB rating as well. That is the video game rating system. And if you've seen it on the box, it's getting a T for teen, just like the first game.
No surprise there.
With it comes an explanation of the rating. So it does drop a little information. This is an action-adventure game in which players assume the role of an outlaw Jedi on the run from the Galactic Empire. From a third-person perspective, players explore alien planets while using their Jedi powers to traverse environments and battle enemies in melee-style combat. Players use lightsabers to slash and break apart alien creatures, droids, and humanoid enemies. Combat is fast-paced with cries of pain, impact sounds, and large explosions. Some sequences depict characters getting impaled through the chest. The words A', because that's what they used, A*, and bastard are heard in the game. So that is the explanation of the rating, and I just like the explanation because it was funny.
You're going to get some profanity. Sort of.
Sort of. Hey, that just means those words are very Star Wars canon.
Yeah, well, we've heard all kinds of like ass and hell and things in Star Wars, so it's not. I mean, those are the minor league profanities, right? Yeah. There are major leagues, and then there are like the kings, I think, or queens.
We don't need a tier list of profanities.
I think
Thor's tier list of profanities. Oh joy! There's ones we don't need.
That's for another time, I think.
Frel.
Frel, that's Farscape.
That's my favorite.
Farscape. I shouldn't have said which one that was from. Seeing how many people remember it. With Google, you could probably just type it in there and be like, that is a slang word from Farscape or profanity from Farscape.
Hey, I loved Farscape.
Farscape was phenomenal.
That was a Jim Henson production.
I mean, people would probably watch it today and say the CGI looks atrocious, but
well, of course.
Yeah, but no, that's Jim Henson. Yeah, that's it's good stuff. It's a good story. Mm-hmm. Which is the key.
Mm-hmm. It's got bad guys you hate, and then good guys you hate, and bad guys you kind of love, but you don't. Bad
guys you love to hate, or that turn, and it's good. It's a well-written
lots of good
show.
Stuff.
Yeah.
If you have watched Farscape, write your favorite character name in the description below.
Ooh, I know who yours is. It's John Crichton. You have like a poster on your wall. I should be jealous of John Crichton, actually.
You should be.
Yeah, I mean, you were like a teenager, I think, when that came out, so that was one of your crushes.
Yeah.
Along with Ewan McGregor. I've seen him on your wall, too, in those pictures.
Sure you did. That wasn't me just looking at Ray Park.
I thought it was you, and you've told me it's you.
No, it was. Young Obi-Wan. Episode 1 Obi-Wan.
Young Obi-Wan. Not that old mullet Obi-Wan in episode 2.
I don't know who that is anymore.
Or when he's getting a little gray in episode 3 already. Or episode 4 Obi-Wan, where the sand has gotten him.
Poor Obi-Wan.
Anyway, I think I'm getting off topic.
You?
No, never. Anyway, I'm done. That's all we got for you this time. Take to the comments below. Tell us what you think of Farscape. Just kidding. Tell us what you think about today's news. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.